On the next One Piece, Z's Ambition, Lily the Little Giant, I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
I'll admit it. Fucking tone, boy. Yeah, hurt.
Well, it seems like Funimation saw the 2-year time skip in One Piece and thought, hey, that's a good idea. It's been well over a year since we last got an episode of One Piece dubbed. All that's come out since May 2018 is dubs of post-time skip specials. No, not the good ones, of course, just the ones that no one asked for. No, don't give us Punk Hazard, give us post-time skip Foxy, literally the thing even Oda himself doesn't want. If it weren't for the fact that they cast several Dressrosa roles for episode of Sabo, I'd be convinced that they're just not going to do Punk Hazard, it's just cancelled. It's a strange time to be a fan of the One Piece dub, so I thought it would be a good idea to reflect on it. Dubs in anime are already a divisive subject on their own. Some people only watch dubs, some people only watch subs. There is, however, a third party that will watch either, usually depending on what anime it is and how good the dub is. But even amongst this third party, there can be shows that greatly divide this group, and there's no better example than Funimation's One Piece dub. Even when observing groups that have watched both the sub and dub, you can find people that either love the dub or can't stand the sound of it. I think what makes this dub so troubling comes from its bizarre and somewhat chaotic origins. The first and by far most obscure English dub of One Piece would have to be the Odex dub from Singapore in 2003. It lasted for 2 seasons and 104 episodes until getting cancelled. Its failure didn't come from censorship or poor release scheduling, but rather from poor video quality and laughably bad voice acting. Arguably worse than the 4Kids TV dub.
Run, the pirates are coming! It's a lie. The pirates aren't really coming.
There is a certain charm to it, however. Like, they don't mean any offense to One Piece. They really wanted to do good, but they didn't have the means.
The king sent me here to do a job years ago, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
It's kind of sad, actually. Surprisingly, despite the show's cancellation, Odex returned to the One Piece anime to release Film Z and Film Gold. Not to dub it, of course, just to release it in theaters subtitled. And they've even announced to do the same for One Piece Stampede. It's a shame, I'd love to see it dubbed again, but I doubt Odex even has the original voice actors on dial. This dub isn't important for understanding the Funimation dub, but it does explain why 4Kids TV picked it up so late, and consequentially why Funimation picked it up really late as mid-2007, when the show in Japan had already aired over 300 episodes. This would factor in how there's still 300 episodes behind today, and probably will continue to be until One Piece ends. After the show got cancelled in 2004, Toei immediately looked to other studios to carry on the series. They offered the chance to several studios, and there's actually test footage for quite a few of them, ranging from the United States to Canada to other English countries.
So guys, talk to me.
What?
Anybody up for a barbecue tonight?
But be honest, you liked punching him.
Yeah, a little.
Luffy! I'm indebted to you for all of your help! I'll never forget it, sir!
They're really interesting. Some of them aren't even that bad. In the end, of course, the rights went to 4Kids TV. I have no idea why Toei would trust this studio with their biggest brand. One Piece was not the first bad dub 4Kids ever made. There was Yu-Gi-Oh!, there was Pokemon. They had a bad track record. I can only assume that 4Kids TV offered the most money for the show, and they accepted it. And you know, it originally wasn't going to be such a bad time. Viz was in charge of the home video release, and they promised to include an uncut subtitled version so that you could buy the DVD and you could either watch the kid-friendly English version or just watch the original Japanese version. But unfortunately they couldn't hold up on that promise, because in order to do that they needed to get the subtitled anime for 4Kids, and 4Kids refused. Coincidentally, the 4Kids TV dub also lasted for exactly 104 episodes. But because they skipped several episodes of them, they actually got to finish Alabasta, and even get a little bit into the Jaya arc. 4Kids TV also went the extra mile and involved themselves with the video games. Now, back in the early 2000s, we weren't at Burn and Blood or World Seeker. The games really sucked, and the 4Kids dubbing it just made it suck more. But because of this, we actually get to listen to a little bit of what their Skypiea dub would have sounded like, and it's cold.
Even I don't have the training for this!
Some lovely ladies are in the wings. I can't keep them waiting. So you know what this is? A love test.
Amazing that you made it this far. My dream world is the endless bars. I'm going there. Come with me. Only a few chosen humans can live there.
I have to do something first.
When 4Kids announced their cancellation of One Piece and several other dubs in 2006, Funimation was given the impossible task: put a band-aid on the 4Kids dub. Unlike the Odex dub, which was never localized in the US, the 4Kids dub gathered an American audience. And whether it was a good dub or not, it was Funimation's job to not alienate that original audience. So the dub started on Cartoon Network at the Jaya arc, right where 4Kids left off. A lot of the voice actors, translators, and directors had little to no context of what really happened prior to episode 144. The best context the staff legally had access to was the episodes Toei gave them and the Viz manga, which at the time was only at the Little Garden arc. So literally they didn't know what happened in Alabasta unless they watched the 4Kids dub, which I doubt they wanted to endure. And even then it would be substantially different from what actually happened. Because they wanted to maintain the 4Kids dub audience, that led to the most controversial aspect of the Funimation dub. It's not too different from the 4Kids dub. I mean, yeah, sure, the censorship in the Cartoon Network edition, it wasn't as bad. You know, Sanji's lollipop would just not be there, like he wasn't smoking anything. And you know, that's not as bad. And the voice acting wasn't as goofy. They could get serious, they were just usually goofy.
Oh, come on! You quit already, Zoro, you wuss!
Only 2 left, and they're both women! 15th mug! Pirate!
My child, forfeit for your own sake. There's no disgrace.
Well, I appreciate the concern, sister, but you're not getting me to quit that easy. Hey, go! 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 Luffy, help me.
But that's still censorship, and that's still goofy voice acting. And I think a lot of the adult audience of One Piece was hoping that they could get really serious voice actors. And I mean, sure, you could argue that One Piece is the kind of show where the voice actors should be goofy sometimes and serious other times. But others would say that One Piece is for adults, it's so edgy. People look at post-time skip One Piece and they'll compare it to Naruto Shippuden, so they want it to be as serious as that. To top off this impossible task of just picking up with a 4Kids TV dub left off, not really knowing anything about it, Funimation also wanted to release the upcoming One Piece films in dub in theaters, starting with the 8th film, Episode of Alabasta, or as they call it, The Desert Princess and the Pirates, Adventures in Alabasta. I mean, Luffy only had one adventure in Alabasta, Funimation, but okay. And while the dub release in theaters was generally successful, the team that was working on the Cartoon Network release of One Piece wasn't working on the One Piece movie. It was a different group of translators. The same voice actors, but different translators. So when you watch the movie, there's going to be a lot of translation differences that are kind of weird. And after that whole chaotic process was over, like, they were tired of it. They did not dub the 9th film. They only went back to the 10th film because Oda was involved in it, which they felt made it kind of canon, even though it's not. And that's the same reason they dubbed Film Z and Film Gold, and are going to dub Stampede, because he's not the writer, but he is a producer. So he's still involved in it to some extent. To no one's surprise, the Cartoon Network cut didn't last very long, because adults didn't like it because it sounded kind of like the 4Kids dub and was still censored. And the kids who watched the 4Kids dub didn't like it because everyone sounded different. In 2008, the Cartoon Network cut got cancelled, but it was still available in Australia and New Zealand. And after a few episodes, it was even uncut in Australia and New Zealand. But then around 2009, it just got cancelled all the same. In mid-2008, Funimation finally fulfilled the dream One Piece fans were clamoring for, and released One Piece from the beginning, uncut. It was a very jarring experience for the voice actors. They had to take a role where they made the character sound experienced and undo that, only to redo it later.
At the rounds of recording initially, when we were working on getting the show to Cartoon Network, we had the broadcast deadlines to meet, and it was myself and 2 other directors that were all working on the show at the same time. That was how we were thrown into One Piece.
Yeah, that was, I'll be honest, that was a bit of a confusing time, because we were having to race so fast to get it done. And I remember we were starting pretty far into the series from what we originally, like, we didn't start from episode 1. We started way
we started from where the current broadcast had ended, and we were picking up at the very next episode, which was in the 140s.
Yeah, that was so confusing. That was like jumping into like the 3rd movie of Lord of the Rings without ever reading the books and going, all right, so here we are. Let me try and explain to you all this stuff that may or may not have happened.
There's this ring, see?
Yeah.
In mid-2013, One Piece returned to cable in the form of Toonami. It kind of picked up where the Australian airing left off, but it skipped about 12 episodes of filler. Started in Longland when the home release was already finishing up Water 7, so it was a little behind, but not too much, although you'd usually expect the home release to be behind the airing, otherwise what's the point of watching it on Toonami? The Toonami version was for the most part uncut, but they made the openings 30 seconds. One complaint I hear about One Piece is that it releases on DVD only, even to this day. But the episodes as early as late 2004 in episode 207 were being rendered in 1080p, so like, why not give us the Blu-rays? But this isn't really their fault, because when you go on to Amazon Japan and you try to find a One Piece Blu-ray, the earliest you're gonna find is like episode 575. And at least their home release wasn't like the 4Kids dub, where the quality wasn't really DVD quality. It was kind of worse. It was stretched a little. And then the Odex dub, it released on VCD, and that's like not even a real fucking thing. Like, how broke are you, Singapore? All I can say is at least it's 1080p on the stream. The Funimation dub also adds some strange editing. Like, none of them are deal breakers, but like, it's like, why? For example, they changed the blue logo to gold, and they do this at any cost, even if the editing is very unconvincing. Sometimes they want to edit the Japanese text into English, and then other times they just want to put subtitles over it. For whatever reason, they couldn't get the rights to the ending Mirai Kokai, but I don't think this was the original problem, as the ending is absent from even the log DVDs and Japanese Netflix. And like I said, these edits aren't deal breakers, but they're kinda jarring nonetheless. Like, if you promise uncut, why not just give us uncut, you know? In 2009, Funimation made a deal with Hulu and started to stream sub-only episodes. In less than a month, they released episode 391 all the way up to what was currently airing in Japan. And then at some point, which the wiki would not tell me, they just released episodes 1 through 390 all at once. And this finally gave One Piece fans a way to legally be caught up with the anime. And then later, Crunchyroll picked it up, and Funimation made their own stream which had it all. In 2017, One Piece was abruptly cancelled on Toonami. Toonami removed the slot because supposedly that slot would get better ratings if it was just re-airs of Tokyo Ghoul. And so that's what they did, and it worked. And it's kind of sad to think about as a One Piece fan. Like, the average dub fan would rather watch Tokyo Ghoul at 1 AM for the 12th time in a row than One Piece. The home release, however, continued as scheduled. In 2019, where many fans hoped for the home release of Season 10, we instead got the dub of 3D2Y. This dub was confirmed all the way back in 2014, but the promise seemingly never got fulfilled. So the fact that we got it fulfilled now by surprise was kind of okay. And then we got the episode of Sabo dub, then the Nebulandia dub, and now we're getting the episode of East Blue dub. And there's seemingly no sign of stopping or releasing Season 10. This odd behavior has not at all been explained. Season 10 could be cancelled for all we know. Probably not, because like I said, they casted voices for Sabo, Caesar, Kinemon, Fujitora, the list goes on. But, I mean, it's possible, you know, they haven't confirmed Season 10 yet. I have a love-hate relationship with the One Piece dub. On one hand, I find the voice acting charming, the translation's accurate enough for my liking, and the passion and love for One Piece is definitely there. I think everyone's charming. I especially love Brooks' voice actor. His laugh is pretty on point. In fact, he's mentioned he'll do the laugh off screen, which scares people.
Nothing makes me happier than doing Brooke. Like, I'm told by the directors that it looks like I'm having a mental breakdown. Because I go into the corner, and as soon as I get in there, I'm like, oh, cool, we're doing Brooke, come on.
I made this video expecting to make a persuasive essay, but I ended up making an educational dub history video, because ultimately it doesn't make me mad when people dislike this dub. I only dislike it when people don't understand why it is the way it is. Give the dub some credit. They really love One Piece. Like, their dub's not selling well at all, but they refuse to give it up. And I think that's a really good decision, because if the Funimation dub of One Piece is cancelled, nobody's gonna pick that up again. Because Odek's failing was obvious, 4Kids failing was obvious, but I mean, if Funimation can't do it, Viz probably isn't gonna do it, Aniplex probably isn't gonna do it, nobody's gonna do it anymore. And if it is, it's probably gonna be because the licensing was at such a low price that a really broke studio, like Odek's, would pick it up again. And it's just gonna be another terrible dub, and then you're gonna have 4 not perfect dubs on your hands.